Hi, it's Carrie. Today I am going to be challenging you. Now, I know that a lot of people out there think they can't draw, and it might surprise you to find out that I never thought I could draw either. The thing that changed my mind is when I was in year 7, which for those of you who aren't British out there, that was when you're 11, 12 years old. I was in art class and we were drawing shells. My teacher showed us how we do this, and then when she marked our sketchbooks, she said that the shell is really what I found that I'm good at now. So I'm going to show you all how I draw my shells. The point of this video is to take you from how the hell do I do that to, yeah, I can do this. I'll just show you. I've just finished filming me having shown you how to do this, so I'll show you what it came out like, and then I will be drawing a few more to show you how to practice, and I promise when you've done 4 or 5 of these, it'll start to get an awful lot easier, and fairly soon you'll be able to do it without having a reference picture of shells that I've drawn or anything like that with you. So, you ready for the challenge? Because it's coming up. But first you need to know what you require. And you might be thinking that you won't have any of the things that you need for this. It's actually just a regular school pencil. It's an HB. Just normal paper. This is actually writing paper. It can be any form of paper. And a rubber. This is a kneadable or putty eraser. But you don't have to have something like that, you just need something that rubs out. And this is what you can make with it. This is what I did with the materials that I just showed you. You really can do this, and I'll show you exactly how to. Starting off very simple, just really lightly, in the rough shape that you want it to be. We draw just the top 2 sides of a triangle and the rough shape you want the shell to be. I'm not entirely sure if you can even see it on the camera. I'll make it a little bit darker just so that you can see. Like I said, you want to do it quite lightly so that it's easier to rub out. You just need to be able to see it. There we go. I'll rub it out a little, just so that it's easier for me to deal with as well. Simple as, that is step 1. Now, you come a little bit down from the top, and you make an arch, and loop it back round flat there so that you can link it up with where you started. So I'll do it large over here. Do a large loop and then fairly flat there. And then you'll come round here. So you loop it down to there, and that's where you stop for that one. And that's when you do the same, this is where you now do the same shape over and over again, but just getting larger each time. So do the loop again, make it flat, join up, and then a curve. Loop, flat, curve, loop, flat, curve, and then when you're near the bottom of the triangle, just continue the curve back, gently arching it towards your last loop. Just try and ignore that bit there. This is your basic shell shape. So you can now get rid of your faint lines. Just carefully rubbing them out. It doesn't matter if they don't disappear entirely, because very few rubbers can make things disappear entirely. Okay, so you have your basic shell shape. All you need now is to do the shading. So let's get to that. Again, using the exact same HB pencil. Nothing any different to before. We start off with the shadows because they're the darkest bits. You go over the bits that need to be darkest the most times. So I always start in the corner here, pressing quite hard, getting it as dark as you can. Not going very far out. With something this size I only go about 1 centimetre, and it's not neat, it's not even, that doesn't matter. Now for these bits we do similar, but just in a little L or backwards L shape for each of them here. Then a tiny fan, slightly lighter, to fill it in. And here, really dark, following the lines, then a slightly lighter fan. You do this on each of them, getting slightly smaller each time to fit the size of that particular shell section. So now I like to just very lightly fill in most of the bottom section. I find that if you go sideways, it does help with the general look towards the end as well. There we go, and as you get towards the end, just go round in curves instead of the straight lines. Now there's a very clear difference between the very dark bit here and the lighter here. So we smooth that out by using exactly the same amount of pressure as you did on all of this over here, just over and over again until you get a smooth gradient. It's always easier to go over things lightly lots of times than it is to go in and deliberately make something between the two shades, because you can never quite remember exactly how you pressed the first time round. Moving on to the upper sections. This is where it gets a little bit more tricky. You just press down quite firmly, and as you bring the pencil lower down, just following the outside line, you ease up on the pressure more and more as you come down. Just like that. Doesn't matter if it's not perfect, you just need to get that curve in there. And when you get towards the end of your dark line here, you want to start the line a bit lighter than you did on the left, just a tiny bit lighter, and make it a little bit shorter each time, and a little bit more vertical as well. So you start off quite heavy and angled exactly with the line, then you ease off and make it more vertical and more vertical until you get to roughly the middle of the shell, where you're being very light, just like you were when filling this in. Do exactly the same with the other layers, not the top one, not the very top pointy one. We'll do that one in a bit. You can go back over it if you don't think it's dark enough, if you don't think it matches your original shade perfectly. You can go back over it, that's not a problem. Like I said, it's easier to go back over something than it is to get an exact match. Now you do the same but upside down for these. Now if you find it difficult to do that, you can physically turn your paper, which is what I did to start with. And I still sometimes do, depending on how I'm doing on that particular day, and I think I will this time. There we go. So now it's the same way around as before. I can do exactly the same thing. There we are, so that is the basis of your shell. So you've got the vertical curvature. Now we need to get the horizontal curvature, which is pretty much the same as what we've already done, only going sideways. So very firm at the top. You want your darkest line to go about halfway along, and then ease out. You want to make sure that you're keeping the same curve here, so the same curve that you have just up here. You want to follow that curve down, pressing quite firmly, slowly, gently easing up as you go down, but keeping the curve. The curve is very important. Doesn't matter how far over you carry the curve, as long as it is within the shaded line. Times at the bottom and lighter, but the middle compress normally, and then towards the top we're firm and go over it many more times. And do the same here. And again, do the same but the opposite way round for the base. Nice, thick line. Curving in the same way, only I always start at the top with these ones too. So you start gentle here. You can always change the angle of your hand if it's easier. Now the right side is always gentler on the curves than the left was. This is where you start to draw out the shading, just ever so lightly, just like at the bottom, ever so lightly, bringing the two sides together. And again here, nice and thick to about the same distance as your thick line was underneath. And then we go with the gentle curves, getting more solid. And drawing out the sides. This is where we start with the top. So we always do the lines with this one, very firm, but always in little circles, getting smaller and lighter towards the top. The main definition on the top is normally due to how lightly you press. So don't be afraid to go back over the very tip with a rubber just to get that little bit of light back in there. So it's not looking too bad at the moment. Just need to bring together the sides very lightly. Always going either in line with the sides or with the base. Darker out to the bottom left. And, sorry, the bottom right and the top left. Something else which helps is to shade diagonally as well, getting lighter as you head out. It just helps to solidify the colour. Moving back down to the very base, nice and smooth so far here, but I am going to add a bit more depth into the corner, just the very corner, and a bit more weight across here, just towards this line, not all the way, most of the way. Very lightly going over the top edge again, curving round at the end. Just very lightly going over pretty much everything to smooth it all out. Something worth noting is most of the time when you look at shells, you can see part of the outside of the shell where the mouth of it is. So at this point, I follow the line of the curve that I made earlier and make that a heavier line just around like that. Again, following the line that we already drew on the outside, just further in. Go over that at normal writing pressure, following the curve round. Going over it more at the base. Moving it out at the top. You want the part immediately next to this outside to remain quite light. The rest of it can be darkened up a little. Again, this is all just normal pressure here. This is where I'm starting to get light and very light down here. Now we're looking to smooth out all of these. So again, normal pressure, just go along the top gap and the bottom. And then you lighten up as you go. Just make sure you follow the curve that's there. Now you do the same from the top down. Done here, we just need to continue to smooth out the edges, so I'm going very light constantly with this, just going over the whole thing very, very lightly, following the lines that we've already made. This is your basic shell. I will do a few others just quickly around the edge. Well, I'll do them at my usual speed, but I will speed it up for you guys so that you can watch me do others. I will also do it in reverse, so I'll do it starting the line over here so that you can see what it looks like in a mirror image. It's basically exactly the same process, just the other way around. And you can watch me practice on your own. The more you practice, the better you'll get. Is how you draw a shell. You can see from the ones that I fast forwarded through that there are all sorts of different shapes, different layers of, I call them bubbles, different ones of those that you can do, different angles, all sorts of different things. And you don't have to do it in the way that I showed you initially. I just thought that that was the easiest way, as I'm sure you noticed a couple of times when I was doing these ones, I did forget to do a couple of things and had to go back afterwards. So the way I showed you initially is the easiest way to make sure you don't forget. But I've been doing this for so many years now that I just sort of go with it however I feel at the time. So yes, I'll just quickly show you all of the little ones that I did there. And trust me, you really can do this. I have put my Instagram in the comments below, not the comments, the description. And if you follow me on there, I will show you the comparison between my shells and one that my boyfriend will be drawing soon, because he came and looked at them and said there's no way that he can draw it. I will show you that if he can do it, you can do it. Honestly, it's fine. See you soon.